Okay, we're back in business. So I'm going to treat this like a bit like just a how-to tutorial, probably just with a bit more swearing and other bits. So hello, my name's Rob. It's Cat Rabbit Scale Model Studios, and today I wanted to do something for Orktober. My godson did kindly give me this cool Beast Snagger Orc Boy. It's been a while since I've done some orcs, so I am just going to pop along and I'm going to paint this guy up, which I think will be a lot of fun. As we go. So yeah, so orc skin. A lot of people, I don't know, struggle with skin in general. I guess orc skin sometimes can be a little bit easier because it's green in colour. Let me just wipe my camera lens. That's better. It can be a little bit difficult, but it doesn't need to be. It can be quite easy to do. And I'm going to show you today how I do my orc skin. Let me just, there we go. That's better. We're there. So yeah, that's really the aim of the game. I'm only going to focus on the skin. I'm not going to paint the whole thing. I'll probably finish this guy off over the weekend at some point. But I am going to try and be a bit more in depth. If you have got any questions, by all means, just pop them in the chat. I don't know, write in capitals or something so I can see it. I have to keep scrolling down. See stuff. Sorry, I don't have the YouTube. They're always changing things. Oh, maybe I'm just a sucker and I'm just old and grumpy. But there we go. So the first colour which I'm going to use, I think it's a fantastic colour for Orktober, is Elysian Green. This gives a really good solid colour after a good couple of coats. I am going to be using a wet palette, which I've got just here. I'll kind of do it like that so you can see me mixing the paints and things like that. And yeah, that's really the first colour we're going to start with, just purely because it's got a bit more yellow to it. This is a bit of an older pot now, so we'll see how we go, but this is definitely the colour. If you are going to use other greens and things, I would probably recommend mixing just a touch of yellow maybe, and just to kind of soften those colours. This one is really on the turn. Wow. I think we'll be all right though. We can finish that with some water. This paint's savable. I've actually had this pot of Elysian Green for absolutely ages. It's served me pretty well. So what I will do is, while I'm not using it, I'll kind of just pop it there so it's on the screen so you can see. And then what I'm going to do is I'll probably use this handle. Obviously the first thing really is to just make sure that we really base coat our skin. It might look a little bit see-through at first, don't worry about that. Once again, 2 coats is the aim of the game with this stuff. Just making sure that it's, you know, everything's fully, what we want is a really solid base colour. I'm not going to worry about being neat or anything like that. I don't have to, because everything's going to go on top of this. It's always been my kind of mythos there, is to work from the inside out. So this is obviously going to be the messier stage, and all the other details like his cape, his trousers and things that are all on top of those other details. So we can tidy up them afterwards, so we don't actually have to worry about being too neat with this skin. The model was assembled. Normally I wouldn't paint a fully assembled model. I'm a bit of a sucker for sub-assemblies. I just find them a bit easier to work with. But in this instance it was already made, so I'm just going to go with it. And the model I chose is fairly accessible. There's quite a lot of room to work around this guy because of his pose and things, so I'm not too concerned. I am using just a normal Citadel small layer brush to apply this. I have just knackered my mediums greatly. They all become terrain brushes in the end in the studio here. So but I'm just gonna kind of go through it. Like I said, Orktober was something I wanted to do last year. I always seem to forget about Orktober. Apart from that one time where GW said it was Orktober and then you didn't actually get an Ork release in October, and everyone got really angry about it because Speed Freaks actually came out the week after, I believe. But besides the point, it's stuck, and I think it's a good thing. I think it's a good excuse to paint something maybe a little bit different, maybe something you wouldn't normally paint. I like Orcs. One of my first AOS armies when I joined the hobby, I started with Stormcast, and then the next one I did was Ironjaws, and I loved painting Ironjaws. One of my favourite models still to this day is Gordrak on the Maw Crusher. It's such an amazing miniature. I'd love to get my hands on one of those again and paint another one up, but yeah, just it's something that I really enjoy kind of doing. And with like these Beast Snagger guys, very similar. I just think they're great models, great looking models, lots of detail, lots of motion. I know a lot of people kind of get a bit annoyed at maybe the static poses that some of these have. I don't know, see it's a problem, but then I guess I'm not one of the people that paints full armies. I tend to just paint individual things, and you know, I'm kind of the worst thing I paint probably Space Marines over and over again, which I think sometimes we're all a bit of a sucker for. But I think it's good to once in a while just to paint something a little bit different. Just keeps that kind of hobby motivation a little bit fresh, if you will. But yeah, as you can see, kind of already on that white, it's starting to kind of really brighten that skin up. Maybe if I hold it just over here, it's going to get slightly easier to see because the camera's trying to pick up white. But I'm just gonna... I've just noticed this guy's actually got teeth marks in him, which I think is fantastic. It's little touches like this I really do appreciate, because you can spend so long on these types of models just kind of getting all the little details and stuff like that. And they are fantastic little models. I really like this range. I like the big Mega Boss as well. Big fan of that. Probably something that I'll pick up and paint for myself when I do have time to do it. But yeah, so I was just having how much I can kind of talk about Orc skin, because obviously base coating. Maybe I should have base coated this before we went on live. No. That's organisation for you. I have none. I'm still very new to all this, but I kind of just wanted to hang out, talk, and paint. I do a live on Instagram on a Wednesday, for those that don't know, or maybe you're just watching this, with Josh from Free Spies Gaming Group. We just kind of hang out and chill and stuff like that. And I had a guy message me with such a fantastic question, because I'd never really thought about it before. He turned around and said, you know, real talk, like, how do you keep, you know, hobby fuel in the tank, if you will? And you know, I'd never really thought about it. I'd never kind of thought about that instance of why I can just every day just, you know, I want to sit down at my little desk and I want to paint stuff and I want to kind of work on other people's miniatures and just paint stuff up and show people how I do things, you know, that ask. And it really got me thinking, because I've never really kind of thought about it, if you will. I've always just kind of just done it, and in a way kind of kept myself to myself. Another reason why I like doing these lives as well, because I think you can kind of see the type of person I am, and hope it comes across that, you know, one thing I just love seeing people's work. I love talking to people and talking about hobby things, and I think that gives an opportunity to, you know, talk to people. Whereas it's nice when you get comments, but when you're actually doing it and people are talking, oh, why are you doing it that way and stuff like that, and you're actually communicating, it's really different to kind of just, you know, making a video and sitting there and just like it's quite a solitary I guess experience when you're doing videos and things. But when it's live, you know, you can actually talk, and you know, it's not lonely at all. Ah, that's nice. So yeah, I do really enjoy it. I should do more lives actually. I do like doing lives and things. I like talking with people. I like talking in general, to be fair. Still to this day though, I hate the sound of my own voice. I hate having to do voiceovers and things like that for videos, because when I listen to it back, I'm like, oh my God, you sound awful. Who's this dickhead? Oh, it's me. And, you know, it's one of those necessary things. I'm getting a little bit better with it. I'm kind of like, yeah, just don't think about it. Let's just get it done. And it's definitely getting a bit easier, if you will, on the, I guess, the video making front, because I'm still so new to it. My knowledge of computers is awful. Like, it's so bad. Like, I feel sorry for people sometimes. Like, they're trying to talk to me about computers, and I'm just like, yeah, so this one's got an on button, but you only turn it on once because you don't really ever turn it off. And they're like, what are you doing? So I am, my skill level with computers, absolutely awful. Most of the time it's people kind enough in the comments, or my friends going, hey Rob, if you tried this, you know, this might work for you and stuff like that. Like, I didn't know for ages, if you touch the screen on your phone, it will focus. That was news to me, which, you know, I was kind of like, oh yeah, you can do it on pictures. I didn't know you could do it on videos. But that's the type of thing. It's all a learning curve, and, you know, it's fun at the end of the day and stuff like that. So, but I'm nearly done with this first coat. In actual fact, we've only got 3 paints and a wash to use. That's how I kind of did my orc skin last time. I like it really bright and vibrant. That's the thing for me with the orc stuff. You know, I can dark skin orcs, or darker skinned orcs, should we say? I don't know. I've struggled to make them look good in the past. I think the darkest I've gone is Deathworld Forest for orcs. But I found that with the Elysian Green and going for a slightly brighter look, I definitely get better results, and I'm happier with them as well. So that's what I'm sticking to, as it works for me. You find something, you stick with it, you refine it, and then you pass it on, and then it evolves and evolves and evolves, and before you know it, you've got a fantastic little evolution of a process between so many hobbyists going, oh, you know, but no, have you tried this base color, or no, mixing some of this with your highlights, or, you know, and it just becomes this fantastic kind of I guess tree of knowledge for these individual kind of, like, you know, how to paint orc skin. And that's always the takeaway from stuff like this in my videos. I'm quite self-aware. If it wasn't for the algorithm and you kind of having to kind of put down like, oh, how to paint orc skin, it was always how I paint stuff. It's never the only way to paint stuff. That's ridiculous. So I do kind of just I try and remain on that kind of level all the time. But sometimes you do have to play to the algorithm gods, if you will, of Instagram and stuff. It's the only way to kind of get your video seen and get it out there and connect with people, which is, you know, a bit of a shame, but it has to be done, and I'm nothing but a team player. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give this guy a little blast with the hairdryer, just to dry him off, and we'll see how we look there. I might go over some bits But I kind of, this was already sprayed grey, and I hit it with a bit of Wraithbone. And I didn't fully hit it, I just kind of made sure it was covered. And it's kind of given me some nice shading on its own, so we'll kind of see. But I'm just going to give it a quick blast with a hairdryer, just to speed up the process a little bit. Otherwise, we are seriously going to be here all night, and like, nobody wants to listen to me all fucking night. Not even I want to listen to me all night. So, plus I'm running out of things to say already because no one's talking in the chat. Hint, hint, wink, wink. So we're just gonna super duper quick blast just to kind of speed up the process. Okay, so there he is. He's looking quite good, to be fair. He's a little bit patchy in places, so I think I am going to go over some bits, but I'm not going to be as precise with a brush this time. I think I'm going to get a slightly bigger brush. What have we got up here? This is the problem with my brushes. They are all knackered. I've spoke about this loads of times. Like I never have nice brushes. I don't... I wouldn't give me a nice brush. I would absolutely crucify it. Where's my... That's what we want. Let's go with this one. Let's just wash this out. And let's go with this. So what I'm going to do... This is my Red Grass Games number 2. Oh my god, this paint is just... It's so on its way out. I need to remember to get Elysian Green. Jesus Christ. Oh yeah, that's much better. Take my advice. Whenever you think one coat will do enough, just try and put down another one, and you'll go, oh my god, that's so much better. Like, that's so much more solid. So let's. I'm not going to worry too much about his hands and stuff like that. It's really just his arms and his like back and his chest that we really want a good coat from. So let's just do that. Just going to do it really quickly. To be fair, you could probably overbrush this stage with like a dry brush if you've got one. The top of his head, top of his arms. This is the type of thing that we want to be, because this is going to be a bit of a focal point for the miniature. And because this is for my godson, I want to do a really good job on him. He's recently got into 40k this year. We played a couple of games. Or he tried Age of Sigmar a while back, and I don't think it was for him. And he kept talking to me about it, and he was going, oh, that thing you painted is cool, that thing you painted is cool. So we kind of... He painted up some space balls, and I've been doing my Imperial Fist. That's the reason why I did them, so I could play some games with my godson. And we just go off and we play little tiny skirmish games and things like that. And it's a lot of fun, actually. So that's the reason why I do it. I actually don't play a lot of Warhammer at all anymore. I think the new editions are probably a bit too time-consuming for me. Too many extra rules, if you will, for my liking. But I'm just going to give this guy another quick blast. Same again. Just get him dry, and then we can move on to the next step. So there we go. That's a lot more solid. That's more kind of what I wanted. I'm not too worried about it looking patchy or anything like that, just purely because, as you can see there, it's fairly even. That's kind of what we wanted. But the next stage is to put on a wash. Let's just zoom out. I love modern tech. Look at this. Wow. Now we're not done with Elysian Green, but we are done with it for the minute, because the next stage is is Biel Tan Green, and this is going to give us that kind of really nice dark green definition between all the muscles. His face is going to bring out all the detail of the miniature. This is where these miniatures really shine, because as soon as you put the washes over, they just pop out, and they're just stunning. I love them. But same again, I'm just going to use my Red Grass number 2, which is my workhorse brush, my weapon brush I call it. Let's just give that a bit more of a shake. Yes, so the problem with, I find starting darker, especially for orc skin, because it's, you got to remember, green is a combination of 2 colours, which is yellow and blue. So you've already combined 2 colours to kind of make green, and then you're starting darker, which means you've actually added black already to, you know, that starting colour, and then you're having to lighten it to kind of bring out those details. Don't get me wrong, it's very doable, but it's something that I've struggled to achieve in the past. I don't know if you hear when I started, and you know, I kind of didn't like how some of my darker skinned orcs turned out. But as you can see kind of here, we're running all that nice kind of green shade, and it's just defining everything. So we're just going to make sure it just runs into everything, because we're going to go back to Elysian Green after this, and that is going to, you know, give us all our we're going to re-go over the muscles and stuff like that, just to make all the arms and things stand out. And then we're going to go even lighter to kind of get that really nice smooth, almost like the lighter green colour that the studio painters use. But for the time being, it's going to be this. Then don't worry if it looks a little bit messy at this stage. It's an orc. Come on now, they love this stuff. So I just want to make sure that I haven't, maybe just a bit more up here, because we do just want to make sure that we've got all that, you know, kind of settled underneath the arm. We want to focus under here. Don't worry if it pulls a little bit, because, you know, under the arm, probably naturally darker anyway. Just make sure that you are kind of, like I said, I don't have the luxury of sub-assemblies with this one, as it was already built. But we're just going to pop it all over. Especially in his lap, he's got these little ridges in his back and stuff, and we're just going to... The nice thing is, because I've given this a little bit of a blast with the hairdryer, the model itself is quite warm, so the shade starts to dry kind of like straight away on the model, which is good. It'll save a bit of time and a bit of noise, if you will. But I'm just going to make sure we are completely... Once again, I'm not worried about being neat, because all the other details are going to be completed after the skin. So, and they're quite easy to work around. As I said, this is why I chose this particular model. So let's just have a quick look. One thing I've always got into the habit of doing is, once I've done a stage, I always like to have a little bit of a look, just to see if there's anything I've missed, you know, if I've splodged anywhere or anything like that. I love these little teeth. I never noticed that. He's got a little teeth mark in him. I think that's lovely little detail, stuff like this. So like there, he's kind of got... I mean, if you wanted to, you could probably do this by hand, by running the shade directly into like the divots and the recesses of the muscles and stuff like that. To me, that seems a bit unnecessary. It seems like it takes a stupid amount of time for the same effect. And the way I'm going to do it is so we can add a little bit of light and highlights and stuff where we want to. So there's our guy. I'm quite happy with that. Let's just zoom in quickly. So there you can see. So it started to kind of, you know, do that hard work for us. I'm a big fan of absolutely anything that makes my life easier. There we go. The next step is really when you're going to notice a big difference in the skin itself. And all we're really going to do is we're just going to reapply Elysian Green, but we're going to re-go over the skin that we've already done. So we're just going to focus on the raised bits. I am just going to, this is the last time I need to do this step. I'm just going to give him a super quick blast with a hairdryer. Okay, so there's that guy. He's all nice and dry now, and he takes a couple of quick blasts, and we've kind of got a nice view of what we're working with now, which is quite nice. It's like all like the details on the arms and stuff. Now, this step really, if you wanted to, you could probably dry brush if you wanted to. I'm going to do it with a layer brush, only purely because it's something that I prefer doing. So I've just realised that the chat section is actually down below here, and people have been talking. So you need to carry out a conversation. You'd be a good host. Have I got a brew on? There you go. Look, it's in capitals. People do listen to me. Yeah, I do. I don't do anything about. Now, I don't know whether we'll come back, but I've frozen on my laptop. But my little clock's still going, so I'm assuming it's still working. Let me just try and close that down. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. Let me open my browser up on Chrome, and we'll see if that is any better. Well, you've commented again, so I'm assuming we're back. So let's just click there. Ah, there we go. It's good now. Brilliant. Fantastic. That's what I like. So there we go. Yes, so the next step, obviously you could do with a dry brush if you wanted to. However, I'm just going to go back with Elysian Green. And what I'm going to do, just zoom in here. I'm going to zoom in just so you can see. And what I'm going to do, I'm just going to really, it's quite watery. I'm just going to shade back in those recesses. Not the recesses, the raised bits. We're not doing anything. Ignore me. I'm talking out my arse here. But I'm just going to make sure that those bits are like the tops of the muscle and the ridges and things like that are all shaded in. And then it's just a case of kind of, you know, just going over the mini over and over and over and over and over. That nice solid build up of colour. I'm really disappointed that my Elysian Green is. Oh no, we've got a. Is that a good bit? Is that a good bit? Maybe. Let's get a real good bit. There we go. Ah, there we go. A little bit of water. That's better. So what happens when you don't close your paint lids properly? You end up with butter-like paints, which I have done, which is a bit of a shame, but hey-ho. So once again, I'm just going to be following all the ridges of the, you know, the skin and things, just to kind of get that solid colour while leaving, you know, in the recesses. What you can do if you want to tidy up your recesses a little bit, I always find just something like what's the colour? It's just here. Oh, there you go. Wild Flesh is a good one. You can actually thin this down and just run it in between the gaps to kind of give it that. However, the thing I like about Biel Tan is it's got almost like an atomic kind of color to it. Like once it settles, which I really like. But you know, you don't have to use these colors. As I said, I'd rather someone go, oh no, I don't do that. I do this, and you know, there's a natural evolution of their own kind of methods and things. But it's just a case of taking your time. Obviously, I've got a camera kind of right by my head, so excuse me, I'm not trying. This is where it gets awkward. So I'm kind of like, you might see my head bobbing up and down occasionally. But and yes, I have to keep looking. I'm looking at the camera while I'm doing things. So no, I do apologise. Just yell at me, be like, Rob, come back. Because I do tend to, when I paint, I tend to sit like the model on my lap, and I'm always working by the edge of the desk, and like I must look so uncomfortable when I actually paint miniatures, but I'm actually, you know, in my element. I've got all this table space, and I never use any of it. Like, I'm awful for it. In actual fact, let me just zoom out ever so slightly so you can see it. I'm going to make the excuse of, oh, don't worry, it's more the method you're here for, right? Just to cover my bad production values. But like with every pass, the reason why I like this as well, with every pass of the kind of paintbrush, you kind of brighten up the miniature, and you just, like there, you can kind of see quite clearly that it's, that ridge is just brighter than just everything else. And that's why, I don't know, I think this range of paints, so we're going to use Elysian, Ogryn Camo, and then Nurgling Green. They work really, really well together, in my opinion. They're just, they're just good paints to work with, if you will. But we're just going to carry on working it. And yeah, just go around all of the muscles, just building up the colour. Almost like the opacity of the colour is what you want. That's kind of what we're going for here, is how like solid that colour is. But because you're putting the colour on top of the colour over and over again, you're kind of getting these natural blends. I'm going to work on this arm just a little bit more first, and then I'm going to show you what I mean, because the effect is already starting to happen here. And that's just with 2 paints. So really, do you know what? If you wanted to, you could probably stop after this step. I love saying that. I love giving people the option to go, do you know what? If that's enough for you, stop. You don't need to... Yeah, I really cool. I do. I kind of sit here and I perch on the end of my desk, and I'm kind of like, I must look just so special, is the only way I can describe it. Like I generally must look like one of the most uncomfortablest people ever. Like, if someone walked in with me, they'd be like, "What the hell are you doing?" I'd be like, "I'm just painting a model." I'd be like, "Why don't you sit down like a normal person?" It's like, but I can't. I have to kind of just perch in a variety of like weird positions. So yeah, and because obviously, once again, because I'm using quite thin layers as well, my paint is drying quite quickly in this instance. So you can kind of, so it's really easy to neaten up. I'm just going to add a little line here. And this is what I mean. I'm going to kind of put my knee up, because for some reason that helps. I have no idea. But just there, where the thing meets. But don't worry, because obviously we're not done yet. not by a long shot. This is just the starting kind of process, if you will, for getting this kind of thing done. And I mean, you can kind of see the difference already there. You can see the side I've worked with here already, and then you can see the kind of worked side. You know, when you start to work in highlight colours and things like that, it starts to give a really, really good effect. I was just like, yeah, I'm gonna do an oil painting skin thing. I think that'd be really cool, because I don't know whether I'll get this miniature done before the weekend. So I kind of was like, oh, well, maybe I'll just do the skin. You know, that won't take long. And then I was like, oh yeah, but I need to finish work and stuff like that. And we can just, you know, I'm like, oh, man, I should have at least base coated the skin in green before we got started. But hey ho, it's one of those things. Yeah, I just enjoy doing the orc skin, so I thought, why not? If you're in the chat and you're feeling chatty, if you want, what are you doing? Are you painting as well? Are you painting along? Are you like, oh yeah, I'm going to do exactly the same thing as him? Or are you painting something else? Are you watching TV? Have you just put me on and walked away into another room because you just, you know, you want me to entertain your dogs, and you've actually gone out and no one's around? Because I'll be honest with you, it's not a bad idea, actually. Like, I always leave the TV on for my dog. Ask Rob to paint something. He'll go live, and we can let him entertain the dogs. See, I've been left to some Cadians. Oh, some Cadians. Oh, you got the old Cadians, if I saw correctly. You know, I tell you who's done a fantastic tutorial that you could probably use for Cadians. It's this guy named Cut Rabbit Scale Model Studios who did one for Trek Guardsmen that you could probably adapt to the Cadian uniforms, and it's, you know, it's a really easy method. Plus, I hear that guy's really talented. Come on, let me plug my own stuff. But no, in all seriousness, if you look at the video I did, you could. I thought that said shoot off a random cat, which I was, what, out of a cannon? Or what are we talking about here? But it's actually shoe off. So all of a sudden I'm not that interested. I keep getting a cat show up who isn't mine. I call him Mr. Grey Cat. He doesn't live here, but he's outside my window when I wake up. When I feed my cats, he's there, and he comes in, and like I have to feed him. And my cats don't seem to care. They're just like, all right, mate, like morning, which I find really, really weird. But that they couldn't care any less that there is another cat in the house that doesn't live here. And he just seems to like really get along with my cats, which I think is absolutely super strange. Because I know cats are really territorial, and you know, sometimes my cats don't even like each other, and they live with each other. So I always thought that was quite like, okay, just come in, make yourself at home. But yeah, they love him. He's a big grey one, and he's just. So hang on, you've written here. Toot toot. Opened my back door to spray, and this cat just walks in. So what were you spraying before you knew a cat was walking in? Is you just, are you, what's going on there? Can you elaborate a little bit? Oh, you were spraying your models. All right. Okay. Yeah. Sure. models. You know what? I would believe you even more if you just writ. I opened my back doors to take a piss. Couldn't be able to walk upstairs, and in walks a cat. But now we're having to kind of, oh no, model. Oh, I was gonna spray my models. Yeah. Were you though? Were you really? That's awful. How long did that take me? 40 minutes, and I've descended into this again. But I think I'm making quite good progress on this guy. I did, in actual fact, before I started this guy, and the reason why I was probably so unprepared for painting this guy was, did you see the bits of the Chaos Knight I'd been painting up, and I painted up a hand, and I was like, oh, you know, it's quite good. I quite enjoyed doing that, and I kind of did the metal a different way, and I was just playing around with it. Normally I do oil washes and stuff like that, and I was using to be fair, a lot of washes in general, but I was using things like Agrax. I tell you a great colour that works well for washes, Elysian Camo shade. It just adds like this rotten kind of derelict feel to it. So I was doing that, and I kind of got in, and I was like, well, I don't want to commit to anything because I'm doing this live tonight. So I thought, well, what can I do that will just pass the time? And I actually started doing some of the little faces. I'll zoom in for you. Okay. So I started painting some of these guys up using the same method. And I think I've got it down to something that's quite teachable. I don't know if you can see, but this one's crying Rust because he's a bit sad. This guy has got a chain beard because he's into death metal probably. And this one, I don't know what I'm going to do with this guy. I wanted to do something different. I might do like a heavy verdigris on this one, but it's really easy to do. Do you know what? I think I will definitely do another live where I show people how to do this. It's really, really easy. But there's a few more steps than doing it. And there's a lot of repeat steps. And there's going to be a lot more hairdryer action. I'm not going to lie. Not that I'm actually doing anything with that hairdryer. I'm just giving myself a perm off screen. And I'm just claiming that I'm doing things associated with models. I don't need a perm. It's just an aid to the natural curl. I just, you know, that's just me. So let's just start working on the head now. I'm just gonna about getting all of this done like that. That's quite nice. Not too worried about this arm because it's kind of covered over, so you don't want like as much light, I guess, on this one where you'd want a bit more on this one, so we can just touch in some bits. Yes, let's just go around his face. I'm not going to worry too much about his face because that's what the final step is. I always find the final highlight works better on the face. But we're just gonna tint him the colour so he kind of doesn't seem out of place for the rest of the skin colour we're doing. But we can, using highlights, we can really draw attention to the face with that last set of highlights, which I'm gonna show you all how to do. Nice guy, really. Educating the world. I am a micro celebrity in a niche hobby. Oh dear Lord! If I ever catch anyone calling me anything like that, I swear to God, I'll ban you myself. I'm just a hobbyist, like everyone else, and that's what I like to be. So that's what we're gonna do. Those like bits that are really satisfying. I don't know if you can see just under his chin there, where that shade settled. Like how fantastic is that? Just there. See it? So much detail. The shades just settled so well. But as you see, we're starting to kind of get that really, really solid colour. This process is just a little bit... Like, I don't think this is a method really for... If you've got an orc army to do, I don't think this is the method for you. I think there's definitely quicker ways of doing it if you would just want to get it done. If you wanted to paint an individual piece, I would definitely say, you know what, expand on this method. Because it does bring out some really lovely detail in these miniatures. And that's all really painting is, isn't it, at the end of the day? It's just you complementing the miniature. Because, you know, it's already there. If you put a sculpted miniature just under a lamp, then do you know what? The light would naturally, you know, capture that detail for you. So all you're doing is kind of just colouring in those details. That's all it is. We can just really... So I'm pretty chuffed with that. I think there we go. It looks quite nice. This is what we wanted. This is what we wanted to go for. As you can see, the skin's kind of got that lovely green muscle definition. We can always go back now if you're unhappy with any bits and just kind of retouch them in, because we've actually only used our base colour and then our wash. So like if you wanted to, like maybe here, you could define it. What I will do, I'll show you what I mean by doing it. So I'm going to use the wild flesh, and all I'm going to do is I'm going to really thin it down just on my wet palette. And I'm going to show you. So let's try and keep my hand here so you can see it. So all I'm going to do is just round here. Just going to paint some of that in to define that muscle just there. That's all there is to it. It's almost like cheating. So it's a really good way of kind of like, if you've got any bits, like there's a little bit just here where I'd like that shade to kind of look like it's a bit more settled. So I can just run that in there. Just see that? Just to define that. And then because it's a layer brush, what you can actually do is we can, with a little bit of water, we can just feather it out. And just make sure it's not so stark. But that's all there is to it. That's, you know, these are the steps where you could go, do you know what? You could be done here, that's fine. But we're not going to be done because I like to make things difficult, especially for myself. Next up, we're going to use Ogryn Camo. This is like a really sickly green colour, but it's got a lovely tint of yellow, which definitely kind of helps in this instance. And you see, all I'm going to do is I'm just going to get a tiny little bit. I'm just going to mix it onto the edge because I want it to be mixed in with that Elysian Green. I'm actually going to add a bit more Elysian Green to that because I want it to be greener than that. And then all we're going to do is we're going to repeat that process on this guy. So I'm going to zoom in slightly, just so you can kind of see what I'm doing. And then same again, I'm just going to, and this is going to be the one that really brings those muscles kind of out and to life. And we're just going to focus on like top bits. We're not going to go all the way with them. We're just going to second base, if you will. Even though I've never really understood that kind of terminology. What is second base? But you can already see straight away how much brighter that one kind of pectoral is, as opposed to, you know, the other ones. And this is where it will start to come together really quickly now. So like same with under here, You wouldn't normally get light, but we're going to get that ridge of that muscle. Same here. I'm going to change brushes because I think this one's split. So again on this kind of muscle ridge here. And then all we're going to do is, once again, just repeat the process, following all the little bumps and sculpted detail that just bring this to life. Don't worry about doing things like the muscle citations and stuff like that just yet. Or the elbows, we can come back to that. Just make sure that you do leave some of the paint on your wet palette, because we are going to need to mix in some different colours. Things like Kislev Flesh for the, if you want the elbows, or like, you know, the knuckles to kind of look a bit more, I guess, worn. But we're just going for that really kind of nice, vibrant orc skin, which is just, you know, it's the style I love. I do have a thumbnail up for the live at the moment. I don't know where it's from. I got it off Google. If anyone knows the artist, let me know, and I'd love to credit him as the temporary thumbnail, if you will. Because I probably will. I'll put a picture of this guy up to make it a bit more permanent, because this will be saved as well if you ever need to come back to any of these methods. And obviously I will write out in the description all the little methods. I do find that I write out all these lovely things in the description and no one ever reads them. Ever. Like, never. No one reads anything, because people still message me like, what colour did you do the trousers? I'll be like, I saw it in the description. Oh, is it? It's probably my fault, because I always forget to mention that I've left all the information in the description and to read it. However, like when I'm on YouTube, the first thing I do if I'm interested in a video is I look at the description. So maybe that's just me, just assuming that everyone should do the same thing as me, which is a bit horrible, actually. But I get it quite a lot. That, what colour did you do? What colour did you do the thing? What colour would you paint orc nails? Well, it depends, you know. Is it summertime? Is he going for a bit of an ombre? Has he been on his holidays? Is he going on his holidays? You know, what is it, night out? What's he wearing? You know, is he complimenting? What are we talking about here with nails? I know a lot of people do them green, black. They do them like a dark green. That might be a little bit odd, because you've gone for a darker skin. So maybe I'd probably do like just a normal like bone color, just to make them stand out a little bit more, is what I would probably do myself if it was me and I already had kind of done the skin. That's right, stay for the lols. But yeah, that's what I would kind of lean into, because I've always gone the premise of, especially with bases, if the model is dark, then do a light base. If the model is mainly light, do a dark base, because I find it helps frame the miniature a little bit better. Whereas I do find, you know, with like obviously you can apply that to kind of any part of the miniature as well. So like if you're struggling for a color and you want to frame it or draw attention to it, then just do like the exact opposite. So like in this instance, if you're going to do a dark skin orc, then I would probably I would add lots of spots of bright colors to help frame it and to help kind of, you know, draw your eye to certain aspects. This is another like weird thing. These little ridges on the hand. I love painting them. I don't know why. Just so you can see straight away that that's made like a really big difference. We've got a really nice solid colour, and we've kind of got that almost studio style kind of thing. We are just going to work around the face now. And you can build this colour up as many times as you want, up to, you know, Ogryn Camo, because it's a green. You know, it just works. It's the Todd Howard of greens. It just works. Now buy Skyrim again. Again, Todd. But we can just, you know, and you know, because we've added it and it's on the wet palette, it just blends really well. Like, I think greens are a great colour to work with. Especially if you've got like a wet palette, or you are like, I hate thinning my paints, because they're all different. You know, when people go like, you know, how do you thin your paints? It doesn't matter, because it depends. Like, yellow thins down horrendously compared to something like red, because red's quite a high pigment colour, whereas yellow has hardly any pigment in, you know, so it becomes a bit more like, oh God, you know, how do we do this? So I'm just going to touch these little bits in. The other thing I like to do is when I do it, I kind of do like little lines for highlights. I don't know if you can see that there. I'm kind of just going back and forth with my brush just to stagger those highlights in and help the blend. I did notice there was a little bit here that I've missed on his cheek, so I'm just going to run some of the Warboss green into that there. Once again, good little safety net there if you splodge over your highlights. That's something they don't tell you about. They're just like, oh, repaint the area. Be like, whoa, hang on a minute, sailor. Whoa there. Carry on, just staggering those highlights in, especially the top of his head, because you'd expect that to be really light. And then what I like to do, let's drop in the weather report. Ow, see dark green shirts where I found it. Do you know what? If you, I would just do pink, huh? Just do pink sparkly nails. That'll fuck everyone up. Is what I would do. I'd just drop them in there. I'd be like, yeah, do you know what? Take it as it is. If you don't like it, deal with it. So here, what I'm going to do, I'm going to use absolute neat Ogryn Camo, and this is for some of the details around the face. Things like his eyebrows, I guess. I don't know. The ridges of his nose. He's got some little things there. I've always liked to add a bit of Bugmans Glow to his snout. Because like when I think orcs before like Warhammer and stuff, I always thought kind of like they were like pigmen type, you know, things. But then you got like these green angry guys. So I was kind of like, oh well, you know, maybe I should give him kind of like a bit of a snout. So I always enjoyed doing that. I don't know whether you can see or how well you can see that. You see it a little bit better there. That's the stages of my colour. So you've got Elysian Green, you've got Elysian Green mixed with Ogryn Camo, and then you've got the Ogryn Camo just there. Same again, all I'm going to do is I'm just going to take my time. I'm just going to dot in any kind of big ridges and stuff like that, just to kind of make it look like it's hard to describe, but can you see his cheekbone just here? So I'm dotting the Ogryn Camo here because you want that cheekbone to kind of look like it's building up to, you know, like a sharp ridge, if you will. Things like the tops of the ears we can do. Just using the edge of our brush just quickly. and we can kind of like just bring that down and you know, stagger it along and stuff like that. And just, you know, this is the stage where I think like this is where you can really have fun with these colors. So he's got this kind of like little tiny muscle here. Well, we can just little tiny drops, you know, staggering it along, little tiny ridges, just like this, just where the light would catch, not going all the way to the end, just really softening those. Like, look at the state of my brush. Jesus Christ. How's anyone ever going to take me seriously? I need to get some decent brushes. Like that. And just, you can kind of see how soft that arm is there. And now we're, you know, we're 3 colours in. That's it. Same again. We can just, on the fingers, we can dot on the ridges back. I'm not going to worry about its veins or anything like that for the minute. But like down here, we can just kind of just stagger that with that little kind of brush movement. Same again here. We're not going to worry about underarms because stinky. But you know, here we can kind of like touching these bits, the ridges of the muscle here. We want these to be highlighted. Oh, in fact, I might highlight this muscle. So let's just. There we go. Once again, the more you kind of lay these layers on, the more you build up the colour each time. Once again, that's one of the reasons why I always recommend using something like a wet palette. It helps so much, especially for little techniques like this, especially when you're just kind of staggering it along and you can kind of see, let's go to the old zoom in. So you can see there, you know, this is the bit we've kind of started working on. We've got these lovely kind of fades into the deep bits. And that's the side that obviously we haven't completed. We've still got another colour to go, and we can carry on building up these layers as much or as little as you want. It really doesn't matter. We can just keep going at it, and you know, like every time you apply this, you'll just make that colour just that little bit more solid, and just really kind of pop. And I just think the vibrant orc style is something that I really do enjoy. Same again here. We're just going to do little lines. We don't need to add too much texture to these models because they're very nicely sculpted. But if you've got something that maybe is a bit plainer, or 3D printed, or you know, something you want to add some in, little stabbing motions, I think are just a great way to add texture onto your models. Like they really are. You can just, I could do this stage for ages. Just go round and round and round and round and round and round, and not get bored. Like I really could. I think this is the best part, especially when I do models like this in this type of style. Once again, for those that weren't here at the start, it was actually my godson. She let me have the this model to kind of paint up for him. I said, "Oh, I'll do a good job for you, don't worry." And he kindly agreed to let me paint him up one of his orcs. So I'm gonna do a really good job for him. But this is going to be my little Orktober kind of gift, if you will, as I'm a little bit late to the party once again. I always seem to miss Orktober, sorry. But I was like, no, this year, no, I'm definitely going to do something. And so this is what we landed on. So painting Raccoon, my little godson, who's on Instagram, do go check him out. He's the sweetest boy there is. Thanks again for letting me have this. I generally do hope you like what I'm going to do with him. I'm not actually going to... I might show him the skin, but I'm not going to show him how I paint the rest of the miniatures until I give it to him. So hopefully he'll kind of like that. But I'm just going to... just kind of building up this skin. I think, like with Orc skin, it can be a little bit difficult, much like Ogre skin. I mean, I've had a lot of practice with that. So, a big Ogre player here. It's weird because you're like, well, how can you be good at painting green skin if you're not painting good at painting skin? Because surely it's just the same application with different colours. But that's, you know, that's one of the beautiful things about this hobby. Is there's so many different ways of doing things and applications of doing things that it just becomes a whole different ball game. You know, when you're just doing it. And this is only obviously like through the perspective of like the average hobbyist. Once again, I think is one of the appealing things. Getting back to that initial question of, you know, I guess hobby fuel, if you will. Just generally enjoying what you do. Like I said, I don't think that question is actually, you can answer that question at all. Not at all. I don't think you can answer it, because there's so many reasons why. What might be my reason might not be someone else's, and I think that's what makes it such a beautiful question. More questions like that, as opposed to, Rob, what paintbrushes do you use? I'm always happy to help someone in that instance, but those questions are like a dime a dozen. You know, there's the ones you always get. I always like to take the time to, you know, explain to people why I use certain brushes and maybe why I don't use certain products and stuff like that. If anyone knows of good brushes, then please do recommend them to me. I've never had decent brushes. I've always used the Citadel ones, which have always, you know, really served me well. But I do desperately need some good brushes. I'm not telling you what paintbrushes I'm using. Ones I made myself, actually, out of my armpit hair. So there we go. You can see the, you know, just you've kind of got that softness to the muscle now with that Ogryn Camo. But wait, there's more. I did say there were 4 colours. For those that are, I guess, are just joining us, I should have done this ages ago. Robbie Fool. The colours we're using, Elysian Green. So, like, my gripe with it is, like, I butcher my brushes. And although I am sponsored by Red Grass Games, thanks again, hi Red Grass, I do like their brushes. However, I always feel kind of bad, like, asking. Like, they're really good brushes. Like, the number 2's been fantastic. But I've never kind of been like, oh, should I, you know, go and get me. And I was looking at Rosemary and Co. because I've heard good things. But I just don't know. So, Raphael Kalinsky Sable for Amazon, mid-range price. Do you know, if you've got a link for those, do me a favour and just send them to me. Because I would definitely like to look at them. What I am going to do is, so this is the last kind of colour we're using. This is Nurgling Green. This is for things like the sharpest bits of the face, because this is almost like a really pale green. And up until now, we've just been using ones which are very much, I guess you could say, hints of yellow. Like you can see on the camera already, like there's a bit of a difference there. This is the colour I really like to do to kind of bring out those raised details. Just purely because it's such a nice, I guess, like a white poppy colour. So you can kind of get those ridges in. But it's got like a tint of something in there. and you can just really, you add it in, and it just seems to really bring out those details. Like a good example here on this kind of ridge. Can you actually see what I'm doing? No, because I'm doing it again. My gosh, paint like such a weirdo. We can just kind of get like a nice point on our brush, and we can just follow it around, and we're just going to highlight that ridge there. And it just blends really, really well into the Ogryn Camo, because we've worked up to that kind of pure colour. It's it frames almost the highlight colour really, really well. Once again, short stabbing motions, just to, you know, shape that. And as you can see there, it's just that final nice one. Yeah, send us a link for that. That'd be brilliant. Thank you. Things like here on his rib cage, you can see his muscles. We're just gonna highlight them. Same here on this ridge at the back, little stabbing motions. Same again along the ridge of the muscle. If you wanted to, you can kind of paint in some of the citations and things like that of the muscle, just to kind of define it. I don't think I'm going to do that with this guy. I want him to look quite rounded. But like here, you can just add just like that, and it just helps finish off those. We can just, he's got a bit of a ridge, so we can actually build up a little line there, and it's almost like playing with non-metallic metal on skin, because we're just kind of making sure that the light is capturing that section. Knuckles and things. And this is always the thing you kind of don't see when, you know, especially when you're making videos and things like that. You know, these processes, which would be 4 colors, which is probably, you know, I don't know, half a minute's work of a video, has been 72 minutes in real time. It's like, wow. I haven't even drunk my tea. That's how much I've been kind of painting. Just a little bit just in the corner of his eye, which I'm going to get. Okay. Now we're fine. And we can just neaten that up just by adding. Don't worry, because we're going to give him a set of lips. Whey! Sorry, that was incredibly childish, actually. Yeah, do you know what? At this point, it's stone cold, but I'm going to drink it anyway, because, well, I'm British, and that's what we do. We drink cold tea and we complain about it. Yes, so that's kind of like skin. Let's just so you can see. Obviously, I've tried to be fairly quick with this. You can see that's the skin there with 4 colours. However, we've got things like the elbows and knuckles and his little nose that I do want to do. I'm not going to bother doing things like the eyes and stuff, but I am going to show you this next step because I do think it makes a big difference to the miniature. Where is my Bugmans Glow? Now, the reason why I like to start with this is because it's not you. It's not you. It's you. Is it's highlightable, which is the nice thing about it. If you start at Kislev, which is really what we're going to work up to, it's not kind of work up to ball. And what we're going to do is we're going to start mixing it into that colour like that. There we go, back and forth. Let's start getting that colour in there. So now we've got a nice bit of, blend there. And all we're going to do is things like here. On his elbow, we're just going to kind of start touching that colour in. Don't worry about going, oh, you fool, you've ruined it, it's so dark. Yeah, don't worry. I wouldn't lead you astray. Same with like his knuckles, we can dot in his knuckles. One, it will kind of tone itself down, I hope. And then two, well, I don't even know if there is a number 2, but just around here, we're just going to paint his. Like I said, I like him to have a bit of just around the mouth. I think it makes him look a little bit angrier, actually. So again, we're just going to let him go round, especially on his lips. Not going to make the same joke twice because that's really childish the first time. Just like that. And the same again, just on this elbow here. We're just going to touch that in. And then his knuckles just here. Obviously, I'm not using the darkest. I'm not using neat Bugmans Glow. Obviously, I've mixed it in with the paints we have been using. So don't worry. I'm going to do it on his little finger joints and stuff like that. Across. So he's kind of, you can kind of see there, he's looking a bit more pig-like, if you will, as we've started to kind of highlight that nose. So let's just. And what we can actually do is jump to Kislev Flesh, which is not one of those. Not that. And then same again, all I'm going to do is I'm just going to get a little bit, and I'm just going to kind of mix it into it. And this is where I love having wet palettes. Like everything I do is with a wet palette, but you can kind of just keep pushing that colour in and those in, and till you kind of got that colour you want. And we're just going to get a nice point on our brush, and all we're going to do is we're just going to kind of just with little lines, we're going to bring those colours just down. So you kind of got some of the stuff showing, so it looks a bit sore and it looks a bit iffy and things like that, but you can just dot them in and it just covers them, and it just, because it's a light colour and we've worked all the way up to Nurgling Green, the Kislev Flesh just really complements it, and it blends really easy. Like I'm not going to do many passes at all with this, as you can see. So we're just going to, you could probably skip the before step, the before times, if you wanted to. I think it just helps sell the effect of having that kind of, almost like where the skin is a bit more worn or used and stuff like that. Like here, we're just going to pop in a bit more, a bit neat. Just feather it out from that ridge there. And then same again for the face. Once I get a point back on my brush, oh my god. This brush is definitely going to become a terrain brush by morning. because even in death it still serves. So yeah, we just feather it round. If you wanted to, you could probably stick a bit of Elysian Flesh shade, really watered down over the face area. I'm not going to worry too much about that because we can always come back in with our other colours if you wanted to tidy them up. You see? Once again, I do apologise if anything's off camera. Obviously, I'm trying to see what I'm doing without making this look absolute trash. And there we go. That is effectively the skin. As you can see, we've kind of highlighted the face where that was. The elbows, you know, all the knuckles have been dotted in. It's just kind of knocked that Bugmans Glow down a little bit on there. And that's all there is to it. I say that's all there is to it. Been here 81 minutes painting fucking skin. But that's Orc skin. Like if you wanted to do a big piece, your characters and stuff like that, I think this would be great for. Your normal rank and file stuff, you know, maybe not. But yeah, there we go. That's Orc skin for Orktober. That's all you're getting out of me. I'm going to add a little bit of Kislev just right to my mix, and I'm gonna dot in on some of these muscles just to kind of make them look like these are the most beaten of the spots, if you will. I think that's probably a good idea for this guy. I love the way this guy looks. Maybe some up here as well. Just bring him to life a little bit more. So there we go. That is it. I'm done. Wow, I didn't think it would take that long. I was like, yeah, this is going to be like a half-hour job, and it's been nearly an hour and a half. There we go. So those are your colours. I will list everything in the description, so don't ask me anything at all. The answer's no. I'm not doing anything else. I don't know what my next video is going to be. I might do something to do with the metals, because everyone now keeps asking me, oh, how did you do your metals? I don't even know. But there we go. Oh, do you know what we can do, which I always really, really like to do for an orc? You've got to give him nipples. They're the best bit. So all I'm going to do is just using a little bit of Kislev. I'm just going to... Let's give him little pink ones. Oh, lovely. And as I don't want him to feel quite self-conscious because I didn't paint his nipples, basically. So that's what that's why I've gone back to paint the nipples. There we go. Now I'm definitely done. So there we go. I'm not telling anyone anything. Once again, I'm not telling you what paints I've used. You'll have to watch the whole thing again from the start twice. Yeah. And that's it. Obviously now I'll probably go away. What I will do, I'm going to paint the whole thing. And I'm just going to add a few more bits to this guy. Like I'll do his trousers and his weapons and whatever. I might actually do the weathering on his... whatever this is, an axe chain sword thing. I ain't got a clue. But there we go. Yeah. So look, thank you for joining me for Orktober. Orktober. I hope this helps. I hope you can take this method, make it your own, adapt it, change it. sell it on eBay. Do what you want, really. It's my gift to you. And yeah, I will see you all in the next video. If anyone's ever got any suggestions what they'd like to do, just comment. You can find me on Instagram. You can find me on YouTube. I am on Twitter, but I have no idea how the fucking thing works. I do have what else? I think that's all of it. Oh, I also have a website where I blog and do things sometimes. Normally it's interviews with people. I write silly articles and just generally make a nuisance of myself. But yeah, there we go. So anything you'd like to see, just drop us a message. Thanks for all keeping me company tonight. And I'll see you all next time. God bless and take care. Bye-bye.